Welcome to my YouTube channel, RetroWheelsVault, to returning viewers and new viewers. I'm RetroWheelsVault 4, your guide to muscle car glory. Today we're diving into the 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport, a fastback with flair. Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, where horsepower never dies, because modern cars forget what muscle means. Let's get into it. Did you know that in 1972, the Ford Gran Torino started past Mustang in the sales race like a linebacker outrunning the quarterback? That's right, this beefy beauty wasn't just all muscle and chrome, it had mass appeal that made it the best-selling Ford model that year. In a plot twist worthy of a Hollywood underdog story, the Gran Torino pulled ahead of the Mustang, that legendary stallion of speed and style, and took the crown. Maybe it was the fresh fastback styling, maybe it was the luxurious options, or maybe, just maybe, it was the fact that the Gran Torino managed to balance brute force with boulevard-class grace. This car was like James Bond in a flannel shirt. Tough, charming, and ready for anything. From families looking for comfort to muscle car fans chasing V8 thrills, the Gran Torino gave everyone a reason to say, "I'll take that one." So next time someone says, "Mustang?" just grin and say, "Sure. But have you heard of the Torino?" Let's talk design, and let me tell you, the 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport didn't just look the part, it owned it. This wasn't a car that tiptoed onto the scene. No, this machine kicked the door in, wearing a chrome grin and flare of shoulders like it was heading to a street fight in a tuxedo. Right up front, you're greeted with that bold, wide, oval grille, like a muscle-bound linebacker smiling through a mouthguard. Framed by dual headlights and trimmed in just the right amount of chrome, it's got presence. Swagger, even. It's the kind of face that makes economy cars nervously check their blind spots. The hood scoop? It's not just for show. It's a muscle car equivalent of rolling up your sleeves before a brawl. The flared fenders hug the wheels like they were guarding treasure, adding to that aggressive, ready-to-pounce look. From bumper to bumper, this Torino was sculpted with intent. It's got those Coke bottle curves, that fastback silhouette, and a stance that says, "Yeah, I do lift." Ford didn't design this car to blend in. They designed it to make sure your neighbors remembered it. And trust us, they did. Now under the hood of the Gran Torino Sport, Ford wasn't handing out participation trophies. They were hauling up a buffet of brawn, from your average street cruiser to full-on tire-melting powerhouses. Let's start with the base model. Except, plot twist, it wasn't a base engine for the Sport. While the regular Gran Torino could come with a sleepy 250 cubic inch inline 6, which was good for getting you to church but not exactly lighting up the rear tires for you, the Gran Torino Sport skipped the snooze fest entirely. Instead, it rolled standard with the 302 2-valve small block V8, a respectable little engine that said, "I may not win the drag race, but I'll get you there looking good." But if you want a real thunder, Ford handed you options like a hot dog stand at a muscle car cookout. The 351 came in two flavors, Windsor or Cleveland, both with a 2-barrel carb setup. Then came the 351 Cleveland 4-barrel Cobra Jet. Now that was Ford's way of saying, "Hold my beer." Need more? How about the 400 2-valve or the monstrous 429 4-valve? That last one didn't just growl, it roared. When you ticked the right box, this car didn't ask permission. It asked how much rubber was left on your tires. Alright, so you've got the big V8 rumbling under the hood, but how you deliver that power makes all the difference. It's like having a stack of pancakes and choosing whether to eat it with a spoon or a steak knife. Fortunately, the 1972 Gran Torino Sport came with a solid spread of transmission choices to match its muscle. If you started at the bottom of the torque ladder, you'd be working with a 3-speed manual. Simple, reliable, and kind of like ordering black coffee. No frills, but it got the job done. But for the Gran Torino Sport, Ford said, "Let's class this up," and gave you the Cruise-O-Matic 3-speed automatic as standard. Smooth, easygoing, and perfect for laying down rubber without spilling your soda. Now, if you're one of the brave few who order your Torino Sport with the Cobra Jet V8, congratulations, you just unlocked the real fun. Ford handed you not one, but two 4-speed manual options. The top-loader 4-speed was built like a brick. You could run it hard and it would just laugh. Or go with a wide ratio of 4-speed, perfect for those long-legged highway pulls and 0 to 60 showdowns. No matter your flavor, the Gran Torino Sport made sure shifting was never boring. Now, when it came to ride quality, the 1972 Gran Torino Sport traded in its gym shorts for a tailored suit. Ford ditched the unibody construction of 71 and went old school tough with a body on frame setup. That's right, this car got a whole new skeleton. Think of it as swapping out your yoga mat for a reinforced steel bench. The result? A quieter, more isolated ride that felt less like a rock concert and more like a leather booth in a high-end steakhouse. Underneath, the perimeter frame design made the whole thing more rigid, giving the Gran Torino Sport better control and refinement. Up front, you had a short long-arm suspension, otherwise known as an SLA, which sounds like a wrestling move, but really it meant tighter handling and a smoother ride. Ford even used computer-selected coil springs mounted on stretch-stabilized lower control arms, tech that trickled down from their full-size sedans. Out back, you got Ford's fancy name Stabull 4-link rear suspension, again with computer-selected coils on a solid axle. It kept the car planted when you thumped the loud pedal, even if it wasn't carving corners like a European GT. In short, this chassis wasn't just strong, it was smart, and it knew how to cruise. Slide to the cockpit of the 1972 Gran Torino Sport and you'll find a space that's part fighter jet, part living room recliner, because Ford wasn't just chasing muscle, they were chasing comfort too. First up, the instrument panel. Gone are the days of flat, forgettable dashboards. For 72, everything was all new and built from ABS plastic, and the space age stuff of the time. The standard cluster gave you 5 equally sized round pods, neatly lined up like a bowling balls at the alley. Speedometer, fuel, temp, and a few trusty warning lights, all doing their job without fuss. The far left pod? That's not a gauge. It's a direct air vent, giving your knees the breeze like a personal AC assistant. Out for the instrumentation group, and now we're talking. 2 big beefy pods in front of the wheel. One for the speedometer with a trip odometer, the other a tachometer ready to scream with every gear change. Off to the side, ammeter, oil pressure, temp, fuel, and a clock, because even muscle needs to be on time. Seats? Ford went high back for both bench and optional buckets. Bucket seats got the Comfort Weave vinyl inserts. Last year you could get them too. Want power? Go big with the 6-way power bench. Lazy boy, meet Burnout King. Now let's talk about the unsung hero of the performance equation, the differential. Specifically, Ford's traction lock, which was available on Gran Torino Sports equipped with a 351 Cobra Jet V8. Think of it like a referee at a tug-of-war match between your rear tires, keeping both sides honest when the power starts flying. Whether you opted for the 4-speed top-loader manual, a gearbox so tough it could survive a fistfight with a dump truck, or the Cruise-O-Matic automatic, that Cobra Jet was pushing some serious grunt, and without traction lock, all that twist would have turned into one-wheel peel-outs and embarrassed stares at the next stoplight. Instead, traction lock clamped down when it mattered, transferring torque to the tire with grip, not just the one writing smoky love letters to the asphalt. It was the mechanical equivalent of saying, "You both get to play," when the road got slick or the driver got frisky. In short, this setup meant the 1972 Gran Torino Sport wasn't just bark, it had bite. Whether you were banging gears yourself or letting the Cruise-O-Matic do the dirty work, this pony was ready to plant power evenly and rocket forward like a sledgehammer with headlights. Let's talk dimensions, because the 1972 Gran Torino Sport didn't just take up space, it owned it. This wasn't some dainty compact sneaking into a parking spot. No sir. This was a slab of American steel that arrived like it had its own gravity field. At 207.3 inches long, the Gran Torino Sport was longer than some studio apartments. It stretched out like a sunbather on Daytona Beach, making absolutely no apologies for its size. With a width of 79.3 inches, it commanded both lanes like a muscle-bound sheriff, and at 51.9 inches tall, it rode low and mean, like it was ducking under the radar while still flexing hard. The 114-inch wheelbase gave it the kind of ride you only get from a car that's basically a cruise ship on wheels. Smooth, steady, and made for those long hauls down open highways. And when it came to weight, just under 3,944 pounds. That's right, nearly 2 tons of Detroit steel and attitude. This thing wasn't built for twisty mountain roads. It was built to thunder down straightaways and shake the pavement while doing it. Bottom line, the Gran Torino Sport wasn't just a car. It was a land yacht with a V8 heartbeat. The 1972 Gran Torino Sport came out swinging like a heavyweight boxer in a satin robe, sleek, powerful, and not afraid to flex. One of its biggest strengths? Style. That long hood, sculpted body, and wide oval grille gave it a presence like a lion pacing through a car show, majestic and a little dangerous. Pair that with the available 351 Cobra Jet V8, and this thing didn't just look fast, it was fast, with a deep-throated growl to prove it. Handling was improved thanks to well-sorted chassis, and the traction-lock differential made sure you weren't just spinning tires like a teenager in a parking lot. Inside, the new dash layout and plush seats were a leap forward in comfort and ergonomics. Finally, a muscle car that didn't treat your back like a punching bag. But it wasn't perfect. At nearly 4,000 pounds, this Torino was a bit of a heavyweight, more of a muscle bars than a nimble street fighter. And while fuel was cheap back then, the gas gauge still moved faster than the speedometer when you stomped the throttle. Also, emission regulations were creeping in, slowly choking the power plants of their former glory. Still, flaws and all, this ride had guts and serious charm. So there you have it. The 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport, a machine that strutted through the muscle car era's twilight like a rock star walking offstage just before the lights dimmed. It was bold, burly, and unapologetically American. Part rolling sculpture, part street bruiser. Sure, it had its quirks, like a weight problem that would make a scale groan, and a thirst for fuel that could drain a gas station faster than a teenager's wallet, but that just made it more lovable. From its revamped interior to the thunderous Cobra Jet heartbeat, the 72 Torino Sport wasn't trying to be perfect. It was trying to be awesome. And on most days, it nailed it. Now here's the real question. If you had the keys to this time-traveling street machine, would you cruise it cross-country, show it off at your local car meet, or just rev it in your driveway for the neighbors to envy? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious how you'd make it roar. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Detroit steel, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and buckle up for more vintage velocity. And as always, keep it loud, keep it classic.